Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. Let's watch.
Dinner usually, and have fun.
Besides the tattoo, what else is going on?
You know, I'm 2 dating apps. I've been catfished 3 times.
3?
3.
How did you figure out you were being catfished?
I told him, I said, send me a picture right now. 3 fingers on each side of your face. You have 3 minutes.
Smart. That's interesting. Catfish 3 times. Is that what's happening now in the world? Is catfishing just like let me know in the I'm curious, genuinely. Is catfishing like that commonplace that you would just experience it? It's like junk mail. It's just like one of those things you deal with when you're on Tinder or other places. But that's smart. She's like, okay, if you're real, send me a picture with 3 fingers on your face, within 2 minutes. And it's like, if you don't get it, you're not real. Just nip it in the bud right in the beginning.
Time's up. He says, okay. My name is Vincent. I'm from Nigeria. I'm 29 years old. 29. It's very difficult, people my age, to get back in the dating scene. I'm realizing most of these people on dating apps are not what they say they are or who they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, even without the catfishing thing. People want to present a certain side of themselves and have a hard time admitting certain things about themselves, maybe age or whatever, and they will maybe inadvertently deceive people online. And so, you have to meet people in person and just take it from there.
But I don't want that to discourage me and my efforts to find true love, because I'm definitely ready to get out there and start living and find Mr. Right.
I've worked with a number of people at various stages of life with this phase of I'm recently divorced or I'm starting to date again. And there's a lot of things that I've observed with women of her age entering into the dating scene now with online dating and stuff. And I'll say that it has all the perils that it would have at any age. STI risk, catfishing, or abusive partners that you didn't know were abusive at first, having a hard time even getting messages from people that you see a profile like, ooh, that person, you're really reading their profile. Oh yeah. And you message them, no response. And, just a lot of things. It's hard. Dating it's hard. There's a lot of ups and downs. And what I would do with people when they would enter that phase is, there's a lot of exploration, a lot of support, a lot of validation of feelings, but it was also a lot of encouragement of just like, what do you want? They'd say, well, I want a companion. I want to meet someone to love and someone who loves me. And I say, well, what's happening? And they're like, well, it's not working out. And I'd say, well, it just takes time. One of the things that I would, find myself saying to a lot of people is, it's not like the rom-coms. You don't have a cute meet in the first 10 minutes of the movie. It takes a long time. So sometimes you just have to go through a lot of numbers. I've talked about Bob. He's been on the podcast, my co-host. And when he met Colleen, his current wife of, 15, 20 years, he dated something on the order of like 300 to 500 women in Seattle. At one time, we calculated that he had dated something like 3 to 5% of the single women, heterosexual women in Seattle. Because anyway, so he had to go through a lot before he found his one. And it's usually not 500 people, but it can be 50, it can be 100. It takes, because it's hard to find a person that you really click with, that clicks with you. You click with them, they click with you, and you're attracted to them, and they don't have that thing that's a deal breaker, and it takes a long time. So I found myself saying that a lot to people, but it can be demoralizing, especially when you have a lot of relational traumas that trigger you when you're on dating and can cause some problems in the early times in a relationship. So dating is rough, and I guess we'll watch.
Have you connected with anybody on the app?
One person. We met in person.
Uh-huh.
We hung out at the casino. Then he came over to the house, and what do they call it? Smash? Fuck, okay.
Wow, pretty racy. The other thing I'll say is I would talk with a lot of people, regardless of what age they were, and say, try to enjoy it. Because it can feel like a chore. So I would tell people, look, if you can't get into a joyful place in dating and it feels like a chore, then maybe back off for a while. You're getting burnt out. Dating should be fun. You're meeting new people, the possibilities. And, it's unlikely that the person you're about to date tonight is going to work out. Extremely unlikely, honestly. But, have some fun while doing it. The other thing I would say to people is, particularly people of her age, because I'm guessing she's not looking to have more kids, that, maybe you have a string in the next 5 years, you have a string of 2-month-long relationships. And just invite that into who knows if that's going to happen, but invite that in. That's fun. You're experiencing new people and experiencing life and having different experiences. So just because some people get real locked in on I need to meet the person, we need to get engaged, we need to get married, and it's like, if that's your goal in life, for sure, pursue that. But when you're dating and you're hyper focused on house, picket fence, 3 kids, a dog, and a marriage, and a retirement fund, it puts a lot of pressure on that first date, if you know what I mean.
Last month, and then on the second date, we actually hooked up. It was a little uncomfortable, if I can say that. Probably because it's been so long that I have, I don't know, does it seal back up or what?
Okay, she said it was uncomfortable, and it made me kind of worry about her, that maybe she was coerced into something. But what it sounds like is physically uncomfortable because it had been a long time. And yeah, that can happen even if it wasn't a long time. There's all sorts of causes of discomfort in that situation. Obviously, you want to talk with a specialist if need be.
I complain, but he is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I laughed too.
Oh, no, Debbie.
He was a terrible lay. What can I say?
Did he just lay there or what?
He told me to stop talking.
Really?
I was talking.
Wow, interesting. I was saying nice things, and he said, shut up. Okay, wow. We've heard that from Colt and Vanessa, that Vanessa doesn't like it, that Colt talks a lot as well. We could see that just being maybe a general personality trait that translates into the bedroom, not that Colt would take after his mom in that specific way, because hopefully how could he know that was the case? Maybe they're just really talkative people. I could see that, and I could see that translating into the bedroom. But she's saying I was saying a lot of nice things. Was that out of desperation? Was that out of like, I'm trying to please you, I'm trying to be nice to you, But she hasn't dated in decades, so there's got to be a transition period into dating.
Say nice thing, you even shut up.
Well, you know what? Debbie never shuts up. I'll be honest. She's always talking. I guess you got to pick your right moments, good or bad. But apparently that wasn't the right moment.
All right, so we're learning from friends that Debbie talks a lot, and maybe Colt also talks a lot. We could absolutely see that. And we could see that again just translating into the bedroom.
I must be spoiled by my late husband and my toys, because it wasn't what I was looking for. Laughing, having a good time, but instead I was told to shut up.
Yeah, that's pretty awful. I would say that would be a red flag. I mean, it's like, I guess there's a playful way of saying that, right? There's a nice way of saying those words, but there's also a lot of horrible ways to say it. And it's like, there's definitely nicer ways to say, hey, I'm just not really interested in talking or listening right now. Can we just kind of get into the moment? There's nicer ways of putting that. Yeah. So maybe that was a red flag. Who knows though?
It sort of put a damper on things. So I asked him to please stop calling and texting me. I'm very glad I got the opportunity to get back on the horse. He gave me a little more confidence, knowing I can do this. Don't think I want to do it again with this person, but I can do it.
Yeah, good for her. And that's a huge hurdle is, it's been 13 years since I've had sex, and it's been decades since I've dated. I think it's been for her 35 years. Yeah. Maybe 40 years. And to know, like, oh, even if you've been out of the dating world for 10 years and you start dating, that usually that first date that you go on is like, is anyone going to like me? And so, she had that experience, like, oh, okay, this didn't people like me and people want to do it with me. And so I don't want to do it with that person, but, let's keep this ball rolling.
It's over and done with then.
Yeah, definitely you got me over that hump where I would be more comfortable the next time.
Right.
So it's difficult getting out back in the dating game. I mean, times have changed. No one plans on not having your lifetime partner with you. And I've even looked at a couple apartments. I'm taking my time to feel comfortable about where I want to move, and I'm probably procrastinating a little bit, but I can't rent something that I can't afford. You can't even think about leaving. Are you going to stay here or are you going to move?
Well,
So we've seen this before where there's been a talk about Colt not living with Debbie anymore. And, she knows that it's healthy and perhaps time, but you sense the pain. You sense the loss that she will feel. And I said this from the beginning, it's totally normal. Any of you parents out there who have had children move out of the house, it's painful. There's a lot of tears. You see your kids, no matter how old they are, as your little babies. And you don't want to not be with them. You want to be with them. You want to see them. You want to be there, through things. You want to be there to help them. You want to be a part of their life. And you don't want to be living in a, empty apartment across town where you only see your son every once in a while. It's sad, it's your child. And Debbie has that normal feeling. And of course, I think it's amped up by the fact that her husband died and her only person in her life eventually, or maybe throughout, was Colt. So, it makes sense. And she hasn't found anyone yet as a companion. So to lose Colt and Vanessa as a daily part of her life is to become isolated and alone. So it makes sense that she has some feelings about that. But consciously, she understands that it's best and that it's rational and fair and respectful of what they want. And so, you can hear that pain in her, which, I feel bad about.
the lease is up soon, so we're going to move out in 3 months.
3 months? Well, thanks for sharing this with me. What a fucked up way to do it.
I help you hate. I love you.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm dead.
All right, that's interesting. So that kind of talk, I always wondered, like, what kind of talk was going on behind the scenes, because I think this is a very telling interaction that Colt was being extremely scared of exhibiting that, real tentative about bringing up the possibility of him moving out. And he says 3 months. I'm guessing he wanted to say next week, but he gives her 3 months, which I would say is ample time, considering him and Vanessa have been married for a while, right? And Debbie just earlier said, yeah, I think it's time. So, 3 months, I think, is what was she hoping? Like 5 years of a buffer zone there? And instead of her going like, ooh, wow, yeah, okay, that's a lot sooner than I thought. Oh, that's scary. I don't know because she said earlier, I don't know if I saw the clip, she doesn't know if she can afford things. I don't know where her income comes from. So, she has some worries. It'd be one thing to be like, oh, okay, 3 months. All right, that's scary. And I'm gonna say it's a little hurtful, but it makes sense that you want to live. But that's not what she said. What she said was this. Let's rewind it.
Well, thanks for sharing this with me. What a fucked up way to do it.
I help you hate. I love you.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm dead. I don't feel good. Okay?
That's fine. You go leave. I'm sorry. I love you.
So interesting. If this was an example of their dynamic where he's just like, I'm sorry, I love you, please accept me, Mom, don't reject me. And she's just like, fine, I'm out of here. When it's like, what? Your 35-year-old married son has been talking about not living with you for a long time and you've agreed. And then he said, well, let's give it 3 months. And it didn't sound like it was like, boom, automatic. It's if she was in dire straits in a couple months, I'm guessing he would have, said, well, let's give it a couple more months. So, and to see her reaction, that's her knee-jerk reaction, is to feel entitled, to attack, to guilt trip, is notable.
We're done. We're done.
And in all likelihood, the only reason why Colt is even making this move is because Vanessa is, behind the scenes saying, hey, we need to do this. And it sounds like Colt wants to have sex all the time and all over the house. And with Debbie around, it, puts a crimp in his style. Is that the saying?
Fucking bastard. Rotten bastard.
Wow. Okay. So that escalated quick. Interesting. So I've been, along with Darcy, there's only a couple other people that I've watched a lot of, and Colt being one of them. And we've always kind of wondered about the dynamic between him, and she's said she's a helicopter parent. And, I'm starting to piece together, but yikes, right? Like, effing bastard, rotten bastard, for what? For everyone agreeing that he's 35 and he's married and he's going to move out? Bastard? Yikes. And she knows she's on camera. So what's been happening her whole life? So now I'm wondering, because I was wondering, what was the father like? Because Colt seems like he went through something as a child. But now we wonder, at the very least, what did he go through with his mom? I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of speculations here of verbal abuse and control. And, it's interesting because I kind of feel bad about this. Well, so in the very beginning, when I first started watching them, a lot of people were commenting, they hated Debbie. There's just so much hate on Debbie. And I was just like, well, wait a second. But maybe everyone was picking up on this and I just wasn't. Or it just sort of worked out that she actually does have this behind the scenes, but there wasn't any direct indication of that. There were signs, but there wasn't like obvious evidence that this is emotional abuse in front of the cameras about something that doesn't make any sense to be emotionally abusive about, right? So interesting. And then you got to wonder what Debbie went through that, incurred this, developed this personality trait.
I promise you, I'm not going to abandon her.
I'm not telling you to abandon
I know.
her.
I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying, I'll take care of her.
And that's fine.
Yes.
I just want a little bit of privacy.
She must understand in the back of her mind what it's like to want to be alone with your man or husband or whatever, right?
Yeah, and to hear Colt trying to say wait, I'm right? Like it's okay that I'm doing this, right? I'm not a bad son, and kind of scrambling in that way. It's like, yeah, you're not a bad son. You're 35, and you and your wife want to live on your own. Yeah, it doesn't make you a bad son. And then he's like, I'm gonna take care of her. If I move out, I'm gonna take care of her, right? I'm not gonna abandon her. And so it lends itself to a picture of their relationship that I did not conceptualize. I didn't see. I didn't detect verbal abuse from Debbie about anything that threatens her enmeshment with him. And it happens. Maybe it's just a temporary thing. Maybe it wasn't that frequent, but I don't know. It sounds like it could be an ongoing pattern between the two of them, which makes me feel really bad for Colt, honestly.
He's sneaky about getting married and doesn't tell me, and then he's hiding the fact that he wants me to move out. It's not the Colt I know.
Yikes. So now she's triangulating. It's like, that's not the Colt I know. That's what enmeshed people will do, is in their head, they're like, my Colt wouldn't do that. My Colt is compliant and subservient and all mine. And that's that, B word Vanessa influence. She's in there influencing him. Like, eesh, he's 35. He got married. He wants to move out. It's It's not a thing.
This is a shitty thing for him to do to his mother, to kick me out on the fucking street. I'm really scared. I don't know what's going to happen. I went through shit with him, and I was there for him the whole time. And now to dump me on the street, it's not right. And it's just, I have cats. What the fuck am I doing to do with my cat?
So I get it. Yeah, it's scary. She hasn't lived on her own probably in, 40 years or something. Maybe her entire life. And it's scary. Absolutely. I think she's retired, so she probably doesn't have a steady income. And okay. That's okay. But that doesn't mean to be verbally abusive. It doesn't mean to be coercive. It doesn't mean to frame it like you're kicking me out on the street. He's giving you 3 months. And I'm guessing if you asked him to help you out with rent, he would oblige. So it's not kicking you out on the street.
Be homeless with my cats, I guess. 3 months isn't any time at all to find a place to live. I was all excited to continue on this new dating scene, but now I may have a problem and have to focus on moving out in 3 months. I don't want to live in the streets. I feel like he is cutting me out of his life.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I suspect she has relational traumas that are being triggered right now that she's transferring onto him. I do not think he's cutting her out of his life. I think if she wanted him to come over every day, he would. I think that he just doesn't want to live with her anymore. But she's framing it that way. He's cutting me out of his life. He's kicking me out on the street. Usually when I hear that, they were treated that way when they were 0 to 7. They were treated, sometimes literally kicked out on the street. I've had clients where their parents will literally kick their children out of the house as a way of trying to scare the child into complying with their high control. And the child will just be like, well, I guess I'm homeless now at the age of 5. But more often than not, it's an emotional abandonment, a made to feel like you're being cut out of ongoing from your parents' life. So I'm just going to take a guess and say that that's what's being transferred and displaced right now. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.